What is happening, people, and welcome back to the Scarfy Spurs Talk podcast. Today, I'm joined by a fantastic panel for some amazing guests. Firstly, Billy, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, my friend. Very good, man. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for giving me your time this evening once again. Mr. Black, second time on the show. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm quality, mate. I'm very good. Cheers for having us back on.
No, thank you very much again for giving me your time. It's really good, so thank you very much. Benjamin as well, welcome back on. How you doing?
Yeah, sweet, mate. It's just another day in paradise, isn't it?
Absolutely, love that from you. Love it. And Justin, as I said to you the other day, pretty much regular on the show now. I mean,
I was going to say, yeah, that I wasn't on last week, so as I said, I'm back now. To me, that's a while. So no, thank you so much for having us back on.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you much for coming on. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so, and it helps the channel and the podcast grow. Smash the like button, helps more people see it. And as always, if you're listening live on YouTube, get involved in the comments below. But if you're listening on a podcast platform after Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review. But let's crack straight into it. Billy, I'm going to come to you first. What were your thoughts before the Forest game on that lineup? We saw Sarr come in from Bentancur. Was that pretty much what we all expected?
Yeah, I think so. I think from the season, you kind of want to be starting Sarr when he's fit. I thought Bentancur had a pretty good game. The last game was a bit unfair maybe to drop him, but I think Sarr is one of the first names on the team sheet now, so not a surprise really.
No, absolutely. I'm in full agreement. Mr. Black, would you agree in terms of it's pretty much standard what we expected?
Yeah, I mean, like Billy said, I mean, based off performances this season, he really is one of the first names on the team sheet. He's unbelievable. You have that midfield with, him and Maddison nailed on. And then, Basuma's performances recently, not sure about nailed on, but Sarr, for sure, he's been unbelievable.
Yeah, he absolutely has been. I think from football fans, also even some Spurs fans, I think Sarr's kind of the season he's had has gone under the radar, and I think that's because people have also stepped up. I think he's been absolutely exceptional. And you see like young player of the year and people like that, things like that, and he's just not even in that conversation. So should we start adding to that conversation? I certainly think so. Benjamin, again, I'm going to ask you the same question. What your thoughts on the lineup? Were you surprised? Anything you would have done differently at the time?
No, same as the other guys, but I don't know whether I'd be surprised if it's not the same the next outing, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough.
Maybe.
Yeah. Justin, the lineup surprised you there?
No, I mean, to be fair, as we saw at the beginning of the season, that was kind of the team that we went with. That was the one that was getting us the most success. I think, though, a bit like what Ben said there, that will not be the team that starts against Newcastle, because I think if that team starts against Newcastle, I don't see us winning the game. I really don't. There's maybe one or two individuals in there that I don't think cover themselves in a lot of glory. So yeah, probably the best at that point, but I don't see it starting against Newcastle.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm in agreement with you. We'll get on to Newcastle towards the end of the show, so thank you, Justin. Billy, I will come back to you because we had the perfect start to the game. 15th minute, it was an own goal by Murillo after he nearly scored at the other end. That would have been a special goal. How good was that cross from Werner for you? And as I said, perfect start?
Yeah, it was an excellent cross, and he was sort of a threat all game, really, and I think he has... Most of the time he's played, he's been a threat. I think what the difference with him is like the end product. If he could always add some end product on the end of it, it'd be a really, really special player. And we know that sometimes he can be frustrating with that, but he's always a danger. He always plays on that left wing, on the last side of the defender, always takes his man on, usually beats his man. So, yeah, it's a really, really good goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And Benjamin, what did you make of our first goal, and what was your reaction at the time? Because obviously sometimes we don't start quickly, and we have, West Ham and now this. So were you happy?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I thought we'd come out swinging. We did all right, I think. I thought we played some good football. I think after that, maybe, I think we fall into a little bit of a trap where we have a lot of possession, but maybe we don't utilise it as well as we could. I think sometimes.
No, that's fair enough. Absolutely. We do have a lot of the ball. Mr. Black, the frustrating bit, because Forest in the 27th minute, they have a counter-attack which sees Wood score. Poor defensively from Spurs, do you think? If you had to point the blame at anyone, who would it be for that goal?
I mean, it's just, I don't know if it's just if you can pick anyone out individually or if it's just the way that we play, but it's just far too easy. They just walked through us. I remember it's scoring. I just turned to my mate. I was like, it's just absolutely rubbish pub defending. Way too easy to just walk through us. Like, yeah, no, it's just. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Individually, you've got a fantastic back four, and obviously Vicario and goal has been unbelievable. I just don't understand. It's got to be something to do with the way we play. Because individually, they're great players. Defensively, things like that happen, and that's not good enough. It really isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Justin, where do you stand on that Forest equaliser? I think it's awful defending from Spurs.
I think it's so frustrating because you almost have to look at it in context. Take it almost as a collective. I think they turned around and said we've kept 2 clean sheets in the last 22 games. We haven't kept a clean sheet in the last 14. This isn't. We can be sort of lauding, and I totally agree with what you were saying. About individually, these players are really good. Porro, Udogie, Romero, Van der Ven have all been brilliant, but something is not gelling them collectively. And one of the things that I think we'll probably get on to is that whoever eventually takes up that number 6 position, because for me at the moment it isn't Basuma, needs to get better protection there, because if we are, as we are seeing, we're almost giving our defence a bit more of a free rein, as we saw with Van der Ven's goal, as we saw with Porro's goal, as we saw with Udogie going forward. And I think the stats show we're like top or joint top, I think, with Arsenal in terms of the amount of goals scored by defenders. So we certainly allow our defence to express themselves. But if we're going to allow them to do that, somebody needs to accept that almost we become a 5-man defence. That number 6 has to sort of accept that they are going to form part of that, because if we leave that gap, we are just far too open. And as we saw, the defending then just gets like calamity. And Chris Wood, who, you wouldn't sit there and say is one of the best strikers in the Premier League. He just scored probably one of the easiest goals. And to be fair, had he been more composed, he should have scored a second goal. So it does worry you when, like on Saturday, we're going to come up against Alexander Isak, who is probably looking at that and thinking, if they're going to leave me that much space, him, Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes are going to have a field day. So I wasn't happy with the defence, but I also wasn't happy with, the number 6 role, because they clearly just didn't do their job and just left them to be exposed.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's a good assessment there. Thank you, Justin. Billy, I'll come back to you. Chris Wood, later in that first half, he hit the post. It was an original shot from Ryan Yates. Vicario spilled. Is that a case of it's harder to miss than score? You don't have to see something quite, for me, that extreme happen in football, let alone the Premier League. So what was your reaction to that? I mean, I thought it was a certain goal.
Yeah, man, I sit right there as well. So it was literally right in front of me. I was amazed. I thought the first save was really, really good, and then you just assume that he's going to knock that in. And I think there was actually a spell in that first half, like the second half of the first half, if that makes sense. That like Forest were all over us, and that's not the kind of what you expect from a Nuno team. Who's kind of expecting to play like a deep block and sit back. But there was a good period of that first half where they were absolutely running us riot, which is a bit worrying, really. I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it is worrying, especially the teams that we have coming up playing still yet to play. The top 3 as well. Mr. Black, are you in agreement with Billy there in terms of that was one of those ones that was harder to kind of miss? And how did he miss it?
Honestly, it's one of those where I'd put in the category of I probably could have scored it, to be honest. Like, I mean, how a professional footballer has managed to miss that is absolutely beyond me. I mean, Vicario, fantastic. They even made himself big for the follow-up, closed down the angle, I suppose, if you're trying to be, nice to Chris Wood. But I mean, you can't be missing that as a professional footballer. That is tragic.
Absolutely tragic. I think that's a good way of putting it. Benjamin, it was 1-1 at half time. Would you say, would you think it's fair to say it was a half or 2 halves almost in terms of start with Spurs dominated, then Forest took over that second part of the first half? Well, was it a good thing, do you think, to get to half time? Do we need that?
Yeah, well, as I said, like we get to the point, we started off well, but then we get to that point where we have a lot of possession. We don't really do a lot with it, but credit where credit's due. I thought going into that game, I know we can say, oh yeah, it's only Forest, blah, blah, blah. But they've had a few good wins on the road this year, Forest. They're fighting for their lives down there. They weren't coming for a tea party. Do you know what I mean? They were coming to have a scrap with us. Do you know what I mean? We should be disposing of them easy. Of course we should. But they're not going to come and lie down, are they? And I think, like, as you say, Chris Wood, if he'd have scored that, it might have been a different game. I think, personally, we have a good resolve in the second half. We seem to win a lot of games in the second half, don't we?
Yeah.
by hook or crook, even if we're playing well or not. I think we would have probably got over the line anyway. But yeah, probably a good thing to get to half time because we come out swinging, didn't we? Second half, I thought we played some really good football second half. I thought Johnson was probably a bit quiet in the first half, but if you looked, it was all going down the opposite flank really to begin with. He didn't really get much, did he? I think it was all happening the other side of him, but I think he came into it the second half of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We will get on to the second half very, very shortly. Justin, again, would you say it's a game? Yeah, that first half was a half or two halves, and were we lucky not to be behind? Would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think we were lucky to get in at half time, it only being 1-1. You could sense that, and it just seems weird how we seem to almost struggle. It's a case of the first half of games we really sort of not able to get into our stride, and it was weird this game because we got into our stride. We actually did what we normally do in the second half in that first half an hour. We got ahead and we were controlling the game, and then we just give away a sloppy, lazy goal, and you just sat there and I was watching it thinking, am I missing something here? Because we know what to do. Why is it that we just can't get hold of the ball? Why are we just not doing the simple things? Why are we just letting Forest just dominate the game and us just look like we have no idea what we're doing? And it was just so surprising getting into that second half, how different that team was. And obviously I think Angie's substitutions, which I was surprised made such difference, truly did, because had they not, I don't think we'd have got anything out of the game the way the Forest were playing going into half time.
Thank you, Justin. You lead me perfectly onto my next point. It's almost like you knew. So, Billy, I'm going to come to you and talk about that next point, which is there was 2 half-time changes. We saw Sarr and Basuma make way for Bentancur and Højbjerg. What were your thoughts at the time? So we know how it ended in the end, but what were your thoughts at the time to see Bentancur and Højbjerg coming on? And what would you have done if you were Ange Postecoglou?
Yeah, I was happy to see the subs, to be honest. Like, I thought we were getting overrun in midfields. I think it's an interesting one when you bring Højbjerg on. He's like got a bit of reputation as not the most exciting player to bring on, and his form has been a bit hit and miss. But generally he's been pretty good when he's been relied upon as a substitute. I wasn't expecting 2 halftime changes for sure, and I'm glad that we did it because I think Ange has got to be really proactive with these subs because I think what we've seen previously is that he doesn't. Some takes a bit too long to change it. So yeah, I was really, really happy that we're sort of taking the game to him from straight away, making the subs early.
Yeah. Absolutely, completely agree. And Mr. Black, again, what were your thoughts at halftime? Did those changes need to happen for you?
I wasn't. Yeah, but Basuma needed to come off. I mean, 100%. His first half was a bit shocking, and Højbjerg, I'm not a massive fan of Højbjerg, to say the least. I think as soon as he's under any pressure whatsoever, he absolutely crumbles. So the whole playing it out from the back, it's just not going to work with him. Thought it was a little bit harsh on Sarr. I don't think he was too bad in the first half. I understand why he came off. I think Bentancur did offer a little bit more in the second half, but probably would have given him at least 15 minutes of the second half. But no, it definitely it changed the game. We went 3-1 up inside the first 15 minutes of the second half, and that's ultimately what decided it.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, talk to me those halftime changes. Did you expect Ange to react quickly? Because he's been criticised, hasn't he? Like Fulham reacting too slowly, which I think he did. So were you happy, surprised to see those halftime changes, and in particular personnel who made way and came on?
I agree with what Mr. Black said about Sarr. I do feel a bit sorry for him, but to me, the one thing I would say with Sarr, as good as he's been, he needs somebody with him to sort of almost be that experienced player, just to sort of, he's young, he's still learning, just to turn around and be like, look, calm yourself, or got to go here, got to go there, kind of guide him around the pitch a little bit. And for some reason, Basuma's form has just fallen off a cliff. So I am pleased that Ange did make that change, and I can see why he has mentioned in press conferences about a number 6, because I must admit, when he mentioned it at first, I was a little bit taken aback. I thought, we've got Basuma. In the first half of the season, he'd been absolutely brilliant. But since that sending off against Luton, he's just been a shadow of himself. He just doesn't seem to be able to assert his authority on the game. You just sort of look at it and think, what am I missing? What has changed so much? Because as we said before, it isn't just at Tottenham; it's at international level as well. He got booted out of the, from the international level from Mali. So clearly something isn't right. And when you can turn around and say, and I can't remember which one of you said it. I think it might have been Billy said about the fact that Højbjerg coming on the pitch isn't one of the most inspiring substitutions. But the difference he made in terms of giving that defence a bit more security, putting a level head on the pitch, and very much just saying to the likes of Bentancur, Maddison, the others, right, go do your job. You are on the pitch to win us the game. Us five will just settle this down. We'll just take control and we'll manage it from here. And you just felt that within the first few minutes of him being on the pitch, it was a different game because Forest couldn't get at us as they had been. We would have been able to stifle them and then push them back. And, I think it then allowed for, them to sort of struggle. And then almost at, when Van de Ven went up, almost Højbjerg just dropped back, allowing for the defence to still keep a shape. When Porro comes up, you notice that when the defence do go up, Højbjerg doesn't. He sort of stays back enough to know that if there is going to be a breakaway, I'm in a position that I can take that up. And it just gave a calmness, and to me at the moment, as much as I really just struggle to understand what has happened with Bissouma, I do feel that out of nowhere, a number 6 position has become so important for what Tottenham do in the summer.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Billy, I know you have to go. So one last question for you is that Spurs' second goal to take the lead, 52nd minute, came from Van de Ven, an unlikely source, if you like, with a tremendous strike. Nobody's saving that in the world, right? Power behind it.
Nah, that was one of the best strikes I've seen in terms of like how incredibly powerful it was. And like, I think there was obviously a bit of stuff before that, like, this players was shooting more because I think Bissouma had like 3 shots in the first half. And that was an absolute rocket, and I absolutely love him. And what a goal, man! What a goal! What a player as well. Like I thought he was our best player by. Even if you take away the goal, he was fantastic.
Absolutely, I'm full in agreement. Billy, thank you very much for giving me your time. I know it's short, we have to go. Where can people find you? Oh, there we go. You can find it with Billie T. There we go. Mr. Black, I'll come to you next because we did take the lead, as I said to Billy there, with Van de Ven. You wouldn't expect it coming from Van de Ven, right?
I mean, it's very telling of what we've been doing in our last couple of games. I've tweeted about it, said it in a few of my videos. We just seem to pass it around the edge of the box with no real aim. There's just a whole lot of passing side to side, trying to work it into the box. Van de Ven's picked up and just whack it in the net myself. Absolutely wellied it into the top corner. Unbelievable strike, to be fair to him. But no, I mean, when you think about the fact that you've got Brennan Johnson on the edge of the box, chance to shoot. Sonny on the edge of the box, chance to shoot. Both of them pass. And then the centre-back is the one who's like, we're just going to be doing this all day if we don't just take a shot on. We just seem to be passing it for the sake of passing it as of late. And it's frustrating to watch, but in terms of the goal, I don't think anyone's complaining about that.
No, I don't think anyone is, to be fair. Benjamin, what a strike. What was your reaction? Obviously, you were there. What do you make of it? Yeah. It was electric, right?
Well, as Mr. Black just said, it was basically like, it was, but to me, it was like, this is how you do it kind of thing. Like, if you're not going to have a shot, I'll have one. But the way it went in, it was like, I think, because who I was with, my mate and his son, all 3 of us were just like, wow, like, didn't really see that coming. You know what I mean? It was an absolute belter. And it's sort of, as you say, he had a great game. His speed is absolutely unreal. I think the only problem is you just have to watch his hamstrings, I guess, because he moves at an incredible speed, like, for quite a lot of the game.
Absolutely. Benjamin, before I do move on, would you say he's in contention for signing of the season?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. He's been absolutely unreal. He's solid. He's got the pace. He can obviously hit the ball as well, as we saw yesterday. Like, yeah, he's been a fantastic addition to the team, and not even in a biased way. Like, he's been brilliant. Anyone could surely see that, unless you're Arsenal, of course, because they don't see anything that we do as good. But yeah, surely anyone can see that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, to be honest with you. I think he's got to be up there. Justin Van de Ven, is he up there for Player of the Year? And also, that strike, wow. I think goal's still singing now, isn't it?
To be fair, I think, Mr. Black summed it up perfectly. One of the frustrating things with Tottenham, and I remember watching it as much as we hate to say it with Arsenal, where it's like, score the perfect goal. Tottenham seem to have this idea they've got to try and walk it through. No, you don't. You can just wallop it. And the one thing I did like was the fact that Van der Ven just thought, sod it, I'm going to hit it. And rightly so. Why not? If you look at it, we won the game because two players decided, I'm not going to try and walk this in. I'm not going to try and score the fancy goal. I'm just going to leather it. And that is what made the difference. That is what took us from winning, from, potentially getting a point to getting 3 points, because I don't feel, and it is so frustrating when you look at the others. I can't recall the last time Werner smacked one from outside the box, or Johnson did. You sometimes see it with Son, but you don't see it as much. It is almost like they've got to be right up in the 6 yard box to be able just to tap in the perfect goal. And you just feel sometimes all you need to do is just hit it. And to be fair, you're not always going to get it right, but you sometimes do. And you just saw it. The goalkeeper, by the time he looked round, Van der Ven was off celebrating. He just didn't know what he didn't know what happened. It was unbelievable, and we need to see more of that. We really do.
We do, and it sounds silly to say in a way, but just need to shoot more. We really do. We get in so many good positions, and that let people going like Maddison's playing bad. For me, I think he's doing all right. He's getting in good positions, but he's just not shooting. Or his passes. What I don't get is that often we're getting like the edge of the box or even in the box, and the pass is backwards. I'll be thinking there's a goal scoring opportunity here. It was like there's so many times like a 5v4 or even like 4v4.
These players, amount of times we've seen these players take these shots before, and it's like all of a sudden now they can't. It's like, I've got to play it here. I've got to play it here. Just hit it. What is the worst going to happen? You're not always, if the pass isn't on, and as you said, you as you rightly said there, you've got to play it backwards. Why not just think to yourself, do you know what? Can I just hit it? If I've got half a yard on that defender, can I just put it into the top corner, or can I just smash it? I may not get it right, but I think that is one of the things, particularly we're lacking at the moment. And when you've seen it, it's not a case of these players can't do it. We saw it with Son last season, the amount of times he scored from outside the box. When Werner was at Chelsea, we saw him do it. When Johnson was at Forest, we saw them do it. And it's almost as if there's this lack of just belief that I've got nothing on, I'm just going to hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. And welcoming onto the show, Chris. How you doing, mate?
Hello, mate. How you doing? Hello to the panel and everyone in the chat. How are we?
All good, thank you. Thank you very much for giving me your time this evening. I'm going to put the first question to you, actually, so no pressure.
Sure.
For the third Spurs goal, we saw Porro get his first goal of the season in the league. Are you happy for him? And I asked the guy a similar question. Should we be shooting more for you?
Should we be shooting more? Yes, of course. Any club that wants to be, or any team, should I say, that wants to be up there challenging for the major trophies and for the top spots should be generating chances and chances and chances and chances. That is Ange's style. That is the tactics that he has proposed for the players that we currently have. And I doubt that he's going to change that. Okay, it's only going to improve upon hopefully better signings and being backed by the board. But yes, we should be generating more shooting opportunities. The problem is, and I know that there's a lot of frustration within the fan base, and I see it, is that of late we've been playing against teams that have found us out. And I know a lot of people think that they haven't found us out, but whenever we generate so much dominance, and there's a good term out there, is called field tilt. When you are in the opposition's box and you are constantly passing from one side of the box to the other, which is also frustrating, but it is necessary to create those chances. You have a wall of, say, 8-9 players plus the keeper. It's very difficult to just shoot aimlessly. When you're in a position like Mickey van der Ven yesterday, and you have that opportunity, and you have that snap second to generate that quick shot, and you can get it, brilliant. When you don't have that opportunity, it's very difficult. And I understand it is frustrating. As a fan myself, it is frustrating. But yes, we should be shooting more, just to answer your question. And I'm sorry I ramble, but I see things my way, and I answer your question the
No,
best
you're right.
I can. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you answer my question. Sometimes I can't answer my own question, so I do really appreciate that.
Brilliant.
Benjamin, Benjamin, Spurs' third goal, obviously scored by Porro. He's first in the league. We saw him a wonder strike against Burnley in the FA Cup, which sent us through. Didn't really mean that much in the end, but still sent us through at the time to the next round. You happy for Porro? And again, your thoughts on the ball hit the back of the net? 'Cause it was another good strike, wasn't it? Really, I think because Van der Ven's strike was so good, Porro's is also going a bit under the radar. It's still very good goal for me.
Yeah, the way it was pinged across and the way he hit it was, he couldn't hit that no sweeter if he tried. Absolute lovely connect, lovely hit. Honestly, I don't think he had the best game, to be fair. I don't think he had the best game he's had, but, he polished it off with a goal and we all went home happy, didn't we? So
we absolutely did. Mr. Black, Porro was our 15th scorer for us so far this season. We, 2 goals for defenders in that game. We had 11 goals from defenders actually all season, which I think is quite impressive. Do you think it's good that the goals are being evenly distributed, if you like, throughout the team, rather than relying on one individual? Do you prefer that?
It's good to an extent. Like you don't want to be relying on Kane scoring 40 goals and you still finish 8th, right? That's not ideal. But you'd like to think that it could be spread across your attacking players. And I guess Porro and Udogie, they get into the box when we go forward. So I suppose they're not really like your traditional fullbacks as such. But no, I think that is a little bit telling to the quality of our attacking players. Maybe that's a bit harsh. Maybe it's not. But generally, you look at the best clubs, they have a front three that they play most games, or they have a number 10, and they just stick with that and they get the goals. And there's 3 or 4 players that are good enough to just do that week in, week out, whereas ours is spread across the team, because I don't think our attacking players are of a quality where we can just rely on them. We need goals from elsewhere as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, again, Justin, do you like to see the goals evenly distributed? Do you still need a number 9 for you in the summer? And do you think even when we get that number 9, the goals will still be evenly distributed? Because Ange got asked about, and he said that's what he likes.
In answer to that, I do think we need another number 9. I think Richarlison isn't the answer, and I think we're starting to maybe not see the best of Son as we used to, because I think, as a captain, he's not doing too badly, but the way that Ange plays, it's almost like he needs a holding player, to someone to bring others into it. And you see sometimes with Richarlison that he has moments of it, but we need somebody who's like top class, who's not only going to be able to hold the ball up, bring others in, but also score the goals with it. But I think what was so important for this season in particular was we had lost 30 goals. They walked straight out the door the moment that Kane left. So Tottenham were never going to, go and buy someone for 30 goals. That just was not going to happen in that sort of level. And when they signed Brennan Johnson, there was no way he was going to get 30 goals. I think we've seen what he is there for, but we was never going to get 30 goals. So the goals needed to be spread across. And that was something, if you look back on seasons gone by, has been lacking. We haven't had enough players to spread the goals around. And I think that is something that is going to be important, because if we can turn round and we can add that in there, plus also get, a star striker in there as well, to have maybe another 15 to 20 goals, then Ange is right. Next year we could, be able to make a serious title challenge. Because I think, bar the defensive area, that is probably the biggest area we need to address as well.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Big up to everyone listening live on YouTube. There's a lot of you, so try and get through some of your comments. Mark says Forest had a higher XG than us. Has reckons that Forest played through us too easy. I think so. In that as a period, that first half was a bit worrying, as I said, with the teams you've got to play. I think we have the personnel. Mr. Black, you said it as well. I think you're spot on in terms of that defence. To me, personnel-wise, is up there with the very best. It just doesn't gel as a unit defensively. And being honest with you, not a lot of people like to hear it, I don't think. And I could be completely wrong, but I don't think that midfield offers enough protection to the defence. And of course, the defence, gets a lot of the blame, and understandably so. The job ultimately is to get to keep the ball back there in net. So as a goalkeeper, but the midfield, in particular, number 6, which Justin's already spoken about, offers protection to the defence. I don't think we're seeing that right now. But for me, Courtney says the end of the first half was awful, but second half was good. Werner's performance was even good. I don't get why people don't want to sign him. It seems silly not to. And Van der Ven and Porro amazing as well. I completely agree. So big up. Thank you very much for your comment. Benjamin, I'll come to you next because in the 78th minute, Forrest Danilo gets a yellow card for a foul on Lo Celso, who not long come on the pitch. Should it have been a red for you? Obviously, VAR did briefly check. Is it one of those that's in between a yellow and a red? Where do you stand with it?
Yeah, well, you never really know with VAR, I don't even know the rules anymore, to be fair with you, Harry. Like, everything. I don't even know what's going on half the time with it. Like, for me, the whole system, it was put in to see if it would work. And for me, it hasn't really worked. So let's just go back to the old school style of you win some, you lose some. It was more fun back in those days, much more fun. Because sometimes it went against you. I remember years ago when we played at Old Trafford and with Roy Carroll, it was miles behind the line. And it didn't go for us that day. But that was just the way football was. Now, like, for fans, we're sitting in this, we don't know whether to celebrate or not. You know what I mean? But to answer the question, probably between a yellow and a red, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. And Benjamin, I know you have to jump. So again, thank you for giving me your time this evening. Where can people find you?
Just down the pub. No, Twitter.
Love it.
Twitter's the best place to find me, Benjamin Knibb.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Cheers,
Have a fantastic evening.
Have a good evening, guys.
All the best. Bye, Benjamin. See you later. Thank you. Mr. Black, Delo's tackle, talk to me. Is it high for you? Is it a red card?
It's high, and it's interesting because they actually said it on Match of the Day about Maddison's little punch on Yates. There seems to be something to do with the how the referees perceive a player. Like, if that's Romero, he's getting sent off. You could sit here and say I'm wrong. I won't listen to you. Absolutely. If that challenge from Danilo is from Romero, he gets sent off. And the same with that punch from James Maddison. If that's Romero, he'd get sent off. It works both ways. They seem to have this perception of players, and that seems to genuinely influence the decisions that VAR make. And I don't understand why. If you look at it, it should have been a red card, as should the Maddison punch, right? Both of them should have been. But they seem to make it up as they go along. I don't think anyone here has a Scooby-Doo what the rules are at this point. Is it high? Has he caught him? Yes, he has. Well, that should be a red. Is it foul? Is it dangerous foul play? Clearly it is, but it's not a red because it's the wrong player. Mate, honestly, not a clue. But in my opinion, yes. Yeah, it should have been a red. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the rules are too confusing. But the thing is, every year there's adaptations to it. I suppose as fans, we contradict ourselves slightly. We'll go, this needs to change, this needs to change. And every year there's significant changes. Then it takes us ages to get a head around it. Then when we finally do, we see awful decisions. I mean, I generally believe it's more the inconsistency than anything. A lot of people talk about bias against certain players and teams. But then you look at Wolverhampton Wanderers as an example. And then I find it hard to defend my point that it's just inconsistency and it isn't more than that, because about points that they could have had. And for me, it's not even if decisions go their way, it's if there's actually correct decisions. And there's loads, and I've had several apologies, but it doesn't really mean anything. But we'll see what happens in the summer. But Chris, what do you reckon about that foul from Danilo? Is it one of those where an orange card?
Yeah, I think it's triple orange. I think that there was a foul. I think it was in the first stages of the game by Udogie. I think he clipped one of the Forest players. He wouldn't have clipped our own, but you never know. But I think he clipped one of the Forest players, and it could have been a yellow. I'm sure it was a yellow in any other ref's book. And I said it. I was on another stream, and I said it. Look, the ref is in control of the match, and he's the one that sets the stage. He's the one that sets the level of refereeing, right? And refereeing is so broad because one ref would have given a yellow and yesterday's ref didn't. So it's in his hands to set the stage for permissiveness. So if you get another foul that's similar, he can't give that yellow. So he's up in the stakes or he's low in the stakes. So what we have to take into consideration, in my opinion, is player integrity, right? Because if he broke ligaments, if he broke a kneecap, if he broke whatever, or if he put the player out for a number of weeks, is it still a yellow because of his leniency or his setting the stage from those first fouls that weren't yellows that should have been? So for me, it was a red because of player integrity. Do you know what I mean? But for another ref, it might have been a blatant red because Romero's against Chelsea was a red. But as Mr. Black was saying, it depends on. I think it was Mr. Black was saying if it depends on the player. Was it you or was it? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, no,
it depends on the player. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It depends on the player. So the player's history, the player's demeanor, the player's So if it's him, he's definitely getting booked. If it's you, because you look nice and you never broken a plate, you never killed a fly, it's all right. You can break 6 legs a game. You're not getting sent off. No, it can't work like that. Player integrity has to be paramount. And that's what the rules are for. That's what a ref is there for, to make sure that the player's integrity has to be looked after. And those kind of fouls, I mean, it was high, it was a follow through, but so was Romero's. So just because it's Romero, he gets a red, and doesn't make sense to me. For me, it's a blatant red. And if it were the other way around, it would have been a red. So,
Fair enough. Justin, again, before we do move on, talk to me about that tackle from Danilo. Is it one of those ones you go, it's in between, you give him the benefit of the doubt?
I think, the issue that we have, and Chris sort of said it there quite well, was the fact of the level of consistency that we're not seeing. If you look at situations, and this is where I feel that the problem really comes into that you almost don't know if you're going to get a decision until you almost know who the ref's going to be, who the VAR is going to be, because as we saw in the Chelsea game, when Romero does exactly the same thing, because his leg is high and potentially can be dangerous, he's sent off. Basuma, the same thing. And yet, I was watching the Sheffield United game against Chelsea, and Sheffield United player just slid straight in. Studs luckily didn't catch him, but just sent him flying, yellow card. And you're almost like, where is this all going to go? What, is one just going to say, well, that deems that's a yellow. Oh, but this referee, he deems it to be a red. VAR on this one deems it to be a yellow. This one deemed it to be a red. And as one, I can't remember who was, you said it about the James Maddison thing. I think the only thing that saved him from there was the shot from behind, where it looks like his hand isn't closed. It's a lot like it comes across like that at the end. But why put yourself in that position? Because anybody else, I think he's lucky he's down the pitch. I really do. I think it's only those referees that have done it. But if it was next week, if it was against Newcastle, and it's not the same refs, I would not have been surprised if he gets sent off for it. So I do feel that there has got to be, that is a bit we're lacking. It's not like last season we had these rules and now this season it's this. No, these are all games we've talked about during this season. These are games that happened earlier on. You can't be turning around halfway through a season and going, well, I deemed it as a red now, but I'll give it as a yellow. No, you deemed it as a red then. You've got to deem it as a red now. You cannot make those changes until the end of the season. And then at the end of the season, going into next season, you can say, right, these are now the rules. That is how it's going to work. Otherwise, there is no point, because it will just be down to, well, I fancy that I won't send him off. Or I don't like him, so I'll send him off. Or this one or that one. The consistency needs to be better from top to bottom. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. And for me, as I said, I think the real issue is they're making so many changes every year. Then you get halfway through the season, get to around Christmas, and they have too much time to think, and they go, actually, that isn't working. And, instead of announcing that they're going to change something, all of a sudden you'll see in one game where things aren't given. I mean, the handball rule changes for me every week. I honestly think that there's no consistency to it. They just change things throughout the season. And for me, I think VAR in its current format there's no point having it unless there's major changes, because at the moment it's based off opinions and not facts, and there's no benefit for referees to have that, and it's just for me getting involved in too much, and the invention of orange cards, the sin bins, if you like, that's just that controls the game, takes the love and the fun out of the game for the fans, and for me it's moving in the wrong direction. We'll get to a little bit about referees and that, because I want to talk about the Maddison incident and the Yates incident a little bit later in the show. But Mr. Black, I'll come to you, because full time, it was 3-1 Spurs. Thoughts on that overall performance for 90 minutes? And if you're honest, are you worried when we play the bigger teams? Obviously, still got to play, top 3.
I've seen more convincing performances in my time, to be honest. I think Chris Wood missing an absolute sitter, that could have changed the game massively. The fact that the substitutions were so necessary in order to change kind of like the way that the game was going isn't great. As we've said, having to rely on Højbjerg isn't exactly what you want to hear for Tottenham in 2024. The thing, I know this is going to sound silly, but we always seem to show up against big teams, right? Whenever we play Man City, we show up. Whenever we play Liverpool, it's a good game. Arsenal at home, I think we're going to have a good game against them. It wouldn't surprise me if we played really well against them and then showed up to Sheffield and Burnley and lost to them too, right? That would be the most Spurs thing that you would see this season. But no, in a more serious note, I think this little 5-match run in against, Newcastle, and then 4 of the big 6, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be a fun watch. It really isn't. But I think the 11-point lead over Manchester United, if 5th place is Champions League, I think that's safe. I think that's fine. Man United, 7 games left, 11 points clear. I'm going to say it can't possibly go wrong, and someone can clip that and send that to me on Twitter in a month or so's time. And
absolutely. No, that's the thing. We built up a nice gap. We built up a nice gap, and we always, as Spurs fans, we looked throughout the season, looked at that end of the season where we need to get to a position where we're comfortable. And for me, 5th place should be enough for Champions League. So we built quite a healthy gap. And like United, they go to Bournemouth. I think they've got a few others at Newcastle, Arsenal at home. I can't see them winning any of them that I just mentioned. So I think we should be okay, hopefully. But
I am confident. It would be quite the disaster if we got 6th. I will say that.
But I wouldn't be betting on or put any risk, let's say, when it comes to Tottenham, because as you say, I can see us. I don't know beat Man City at home or beat Arsenal at home, but then get relegated Sheffield United, we lose 1-0 or something like that. I really wouldn't put it past Spurs. Really wouldn't. Chris, I will come back to you because it did end 3-1 Spurs. And same question I asked Mr. Black: are you worried when we play, your Liverpools, your Arsenals, your Manchester Cities, and your overall thoughts on the performance for 90 minutes? Because I think we showed resilience, didn't we, to go on and win the game? But there's patches where we struggled.
I'm happy with the result, of course, 3-1. I predicted a 2-0, so I wasn't too far off. But I'm worried about the midfield. I am very worried about the midfield. If we don't get that sorted out mentally, that's going to be a problem for us, because that is where the things cook. That's where play comes from. I'm saying very, very basic things. A lot of people know this, but that is where we're going to suffer, because if we can't progress, and we can't if we can't progress in attack, and we can't help our defense out, you're gone. You've got the 3 points in a nice little envelope to your other team. You're gone, and that's it. I mean, it's the middle of the park. It's the most important part of your pitch. So that has to be sorted out, 100%. Bissouma, first 15 minutes, brilliant. Never seen him shoot a ball in my life. I've got a bad memory anyway, but he was brilliant, and everyone was surprised, and he was shooting outside the box, and everyone was like, we haven't shot outside the box the whole season. What's all this? Bissouma, amazing. And then he suddenly drifted off and thought, my head's in Mali, wherever Mali is. And then the whole team just imploded. And that is when Forest started. But why did that happen? Yeah, well, yeah, Bentancur. Yeah. Bentancur, I said somewhere that he is the progression of the manager. He is like your Guardiola to Cruyff. He is the Rodri to Pep now. He's the one that has to cook. He's the, and I even suggested he should be the captain as well somewhere. I don't know where I said that. But to me, he is the main man. So if Biss has gone downhill, Bentancur is the one that
Can
has
I put
to
a
cook.
question to you, Chris? Another one, if you
Sure,
don't
sure.
mind. Bentancur, do you think? Do you think he can play the progressive six? Because for me, I'm thinking his best performance of the season was the first half at home to Aston Villa, where he played as a six, but a progressive six, and then he obviously came off injured. Because for me, in that position, you can dictate. I don't necessarily look to him to protect the defence, but he dictates. And there's never a time where he needs to protect the defence because of how calm and composed he was on the ball. I totally agree. I think that midfield needs to evolve, in particular around him. Can he play that role for you, or does it limit, his capabilities, if you like?
I don't think it limits it. He's when he needs to get stuck in, he gets stuck in anyway. But the fact that he needs to progress, well, that is the second part of a build of the 4 stages of your attack anyway. So he can do that. I don't think your question is a bad one, and I think it's very necessary to understand it, and the importance he will play in the team. If he plays over Bissouma, can he do it? Yes. Will he do it if he starts in the starting lineup, as I think he should? Yeah, sure, totally. If he progresses too far into the penetration zone, which is the third part of your 4, he's going to need cover, which is very important. So it depends who or how you play. And I suggested when Højbjerg came on yesterday, which I almost had 6 heart attacks in a row, at some point, Højbjerg can't play on his own. He needs to have someone next to him. So if Bentancur and him play together, he has to be the one that's cleaning up to give to Bentancur to then be the mastermind behind the creation, to be the one that's progressing and penetrating, to be the finishing, which is the 4th part. But Højbjerg on his own can't, but Bentancur can.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you much, Chris. That's a nice answer. That.
No problem.
Justin, Nuno said after the game that Maddison should have seen red for a supposed what he called punch on Ryan Yates. Is he right? Can you see where he's coming from? And again, is it another one of those that's in between? Because if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Danilo's one, and then Maddison. For me, they're both yellow cards. Just yellow cards.
I think it's one of these ones where, for me, it doesn't come down to whether it's a yellow or a red. I think it depends who the ref is, because to me, I look at that and I feel that the Forest attacker, Yates, his name is, I can't remember his first name, but he I think Ryan Yates. He bought it very, very well. You could tell he was trying to get him sent off. Now, ultimately, one of the things you always learn in football is you never give the official the opportunity to ask the question. You never get, because if you give them the opportunity, they can do it. They can put the red card out there. And the interesting thing about it was because also as well, what was ignored was because my understanding is that if you try and send the officials to the VAR, if you start doing this, that's technically a yellow card. Well, Ryan Yates was on a yellow card, so he should have been sent off. So you almost look at it and think it might have been soft. Regardless, though, don't put yourself in that position. Regardless of whether it's yellow or not, it was a stupid move that could have cost Tottenham dearly. And in the position where there was a real chance, particularly with the draw at Old Trafford and the fact of the draw at Villa Park, there was a real opportunity for us to get into 4th, especially with the games we've got coming up. It's one of the easier games we've got coming up. Apart from Burnley and Sheffield United, I don't think there's any other game that we've got that's easier than Forest at home. So to turn around and do something stupid like that and put that risk, I really hope Ange will have played it down to the media, which I think he did, but will have probably said to him, behind closed doors, don't do that again. Because although it was a yellow then, someone else might see it as a red. So I think, in all fairness, I didn't think there was much in it, but I think he was a lucky boy.
Certainly got to be careful. Yeah, thank you, Justin. Mr. Black, what do you make of Nuno's comments? And you kind of with Justin there in terms of it's silly what he done on another day. It could have been a red, or it could have been worse if you like. Has he got to be careful, Madison?
Yeah, he's lucky. He's lucky. I reckon if you give that to 10 different refs, I reckon more of them send him off than don't. But I mean, it's silly. He's not a young, inexperienced player. He should know better than that. And as Justin was saying, I mean, when you've got Chelsea, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Newcastle coming up, you don't really want to be playing the majority of the game with 10 men against Forest, because that win was very important. So for a player that's not exactly young and inexperienced to do something as stupid as that, he's lucky and we're lucky, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chris, I saw you nodding your head there. Are you in agreement?
Yeah. Because how many games would that be? 3 minimum. So you've got the rest of the game, plus you've got 3 games.
Yeah, Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea.
Yeah. Plus you've got poor Yates trying to find his liver somewhere. I mean, it's just, I don't know. You don't want to put yourself into a situation like that over someone who's trying to get to you, because you know that he's the main creating force of your team.
Yeah.
And he was probably told anyway. Well, Yates is dirty anyway, right? But he was trying to get him taken out by God knows what he was saying to him. But that's just the the tactics of the game. Get your main man out, and we've got more of a chance. But he shouldn't react. But sometimes you just can't help it, and you turn around and But he was very, very lucky, as Mr. Black said. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Chris, staying with you, because Justin brought it up earlier, should Yates have received a second yellow card for asking to check the monitor? For me, that it says it's meant to be a second yellow card, so why wasn't that given? And do you think, again, Ryan Yates is yucky, like James Maddison?
I mean, if technically that is a yellow card, because sometimes players, they got the yellow, hey, the foul, hey, look at him, yellow. Right, well, then technically he's correct. But as I said previously, if your doggy didn't get a yellow for that yellow, then the ref set the scene for leniency. So,
yeah.
So no. So okay. It depends on how you want to look at it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Mr. Black, I'll come back to you. We've all given, I think, Spurs fans generally, Ange a lot of stick for his changes, his in-game management. I think the majority of it is fair and reasonable. Sometimes slow to make changes. But once again today, was Saturday, or no, Sunday, third time lucky, did he get it right for you? What's going on there?
Yeah. He needed to make those changes at half-time. The Suma in the first half was tragic. And like I said, I think, as I said earlier, I think hooking Sarr was a little bit unfortunate for him, but it is what it is. Then he bought on Kulusevski and Dane Scarlett, and there was another one I forgot the final substitution was, if any. But that was at that point we were 3-1 up, and I think it was Lo Celso who came on as well.
Yes, that was it. Yeah,
I think when you're 3-1 up at home against Nottingham Forest, I think that's fair enough. Give Kulusevski a chance to find his form. Give Lo Celso a little run out. But yeah, I think that in-game management ultimately is what won us the game in the second half. To be fair to him. And I think in some senses is that criticism can be unfair. I think he's been a bit slow to make changes in some games. Fair enough, I understand where it comes from, but generally it's not that bad. I mean, I'm just thinking of Conte last season. Yeah, that's the bar of terrible in-game management. Yeah, that
certainly is. Yeah, Davinson Sanchez on. When you need a goal against AC Milan with a couple of minutes to go, I was there and I was like, right, that's it. We're not getting anything from the game. I mean, people say, for set pieces, you don't bring on a defender when you need a goal. You keep the ball on the floor. You bring attacking players on. You had attacking players on the bench. So I think you're absolutely spot on with that analogy. Yeah, different levels we're talking about there. But Justin, would you say that Ange got it right? Because obviously, you've been a regular on the show. We've talked, haven't we, a lot about Ange in game management, how it's been poor, it hasn't been good enough. Did he get it right again Sunday?
Yeah, to be fair, I think I was a bit worried that he was going to try and leave it as it was. The problem being is that we were getting overrun. Forest were getting a foothold in the game. It was 1-1, should have been 2-1. I think if he'd have carried on as he was, the game would have probably have gotten away from us. So no, he spotted it early. And I mean, to be honest, I was surprised that even Basuma started, because his performances haven't been what we've expected. And I think he had to send out that message to say, I'm not having it. You were awful for 45 minutes. Off you go. And credit to Højbjerg, because obviously we have seen that, there is talk. And I think, I know I've said it. I know others have said it about him going in the summer. But he came on and he showed. Pardon?
Would you sell Højbjerg?
I think if an offer comes in that's decent enough, he's got a year left on his contract. I don't think he's signing another deal. I think if you can get 15 million quid for him, which I think we would, I think it's a no-brainer, because I think you would then be able to Tottenham, as Ange is starting to say, and I think also as well, it would help his argument. One of the things that Tottenham have done, particularly Daniel Levy, is, well, we've got a player, why do we need another one? If you sell him, we need a number 6. So it kind of opens up the argument to say, I've sold this player, you now need to go and replace him.
Certainly would support his argument. Thank you very much. So we will move on to Pierre Højbjerg. Chris, you're nodding there. Would you sell Højbjerg? And Justin mentioned 15 million there. What would your kind of valuation look like?
Well, there was talks here in Spain about Atletico Madrid, but they didn't want to meet that valuation. So that was quite high. But the figure escapes me. 40 million euros or something, 35 million pounds.
Yeah, 35, 40, I think.
Yeah, and that was when he knew how to play. But I don't know about now. I don't know. I mean, he's had a mixed bag season, so to speak. His valuation has probably dropped quite a bit. I'd say 20 something. I mean, I'm not as I don't know. I'm not as harsh as Justin by saying 15. Sorry, mate. You got to love him a bit more, but because more for Spurs.
To be fair, it's more aimed at the 1 year. He's only got a year left on his contract.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that, but I do get where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, anything from 0 to 24, I'd take, just for getting him out of here. But
you take 1 million.
Yeah, I mean,
1 million. You take 1 million for Højbjerg.
If we can get 2 for 500,000, then brilliant. I mean, it's all about economizing, mate. But yeah, I think no. On a serious note, I think I mean, anywhere between 15, 20 something.
Yeah.
That would be that would be fine. He's still a Danish international. He can still ping it around the park sometimes. He's a contention player, more defensive than offensive, in my opinion. I'm sure he's valid for quite an array of teams out there. Unfortunately, just not for the way our manager wants to play. And I'm sure a lot of the fan base want that Spurs back that gets you off your seat and wants to see free flowing, exciting football. Unfortunately, Højbjerg isn't that player. So, I mean, he's not the player I want to see, at least. But I would sell him, yeah. And I've been banging on for Toon Koopmeiners from Atalanta for a long time. But there are other players as well. But I've bored a lot of people with that name, so I'm not going to bang on about him now. So, but I think he's brilliant, and I think he would do wonders for us. But I would sell him.
No, fair enough. I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and not deliberately, because I personally like Højbjerg. I don't think he necessarily suits the system, but I'd offer him a new deal, because I look at this Spurs team. I think it's magnificent. We've all touched on it over points this season. Yes, it's a young team. We all know that. For me, it lacks experience. And I look at Højbjerg and go, you know, especially with Europe next season, if we really want to treat domestic competition seriously, sometimes you need to protect the lead. I love the way we play, but you can't, you know, do it, you know, 38, 40, you know, 40s, you know, including European competitions, domestic competitions, playing the same way. Eventually, you know, you're going to have teams that suss you out if you like, and you have to see out some games. You know, you go 1-0 up against City, they have all their quality 5-6 attacking players. You can't be 40 yards up the pitch and, you know, high line and halfway line. You know, got sometimes adjust. So someone like Højbjerg, for me, I have anyone in that midfield, if I felt safe for someone to protect the defence. I know he has the odd moment under pressure, and I absolutely agree with that. In terms of protection he offers to defence, the experience he has, gets stuck in. Also, I think his wide range of passing, you know, his crossfield passes go massively under the radar. He's not afraid to shoot. We saw that 2 or 3 times yesterday. One in particular that nearly actually went in. That's a top save. You know, there's a lot of players in that midfield. Basum is a prime example. I like him, defending him at times, but, you know, yes, if you forget Sunday, often he doesn't shoot enough. You know, there's no crossfield passing whatsoever. So that's my thoughts on Højbjerg. But, Mr. Black, I'll come to you and talk about Timo Werner. I've asked the 2 bottom guys as well about Werner before, so I'm going to ask you. He's got 7 goal contributions in 8 starts. So what's your thoughts on his, you know, start to life, if you like, at Spurs, and should we consider signing him?
I think he's been surprisingly good, to be honest. I was not overly thrilled when we signed him based on how he was at Chelsea. But no, I think he's actually been really, really good down the left-hand side. He seems to be very confident crossing balls in on his left foot, which is something I was never saw with him at Chelsea. So that's a massive thing to bring to his game, is that two-footedness that he offers on the wing. I get why people don't want to sign him. I understand this whole, like, he's not good enough, he's not going to be the person to win you trophies. That's fair enough. But when you've lost Perisic this season, he's gone. You've lost Solomon to politics, assumably. That's what I'm guessing has happened. Well, I mean, it's £15 million for 17 million euros, something like that. Great depth. These people saying he's not good enough are going to be the same people saying we've got no backup options or depth next season. It's going to be the same people complaining. So I don't see why you wouldn't sign him. He's very, very good backup for a very good price. And I also think this idea that he's 27, 28, so he's not going to get any better. Look at Harry Kane. He was 30 last season, scored 30 goals. He got better. It's not FIFA career mode. You don't just stop progressing as a player once you get past 26. Like, you do get better. And I think you get better.
I think you learn things as you go along, to be honest. I think you learn more.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'd sign him. For me, it's a no-brainer. He gives depth. I don't think he should be starting every week, but great depth, great price, great player.
Yeah, full agreement with you there. Thank you very much, Mr. Black. Before we move on to Newcastle and answer your questions, because I'm conscious of time, Chris, will come to you. James Maddison, talk to me since he's coming back from his injury. What have you made of him? And don't tell me whether you put him in the lineup or not in Newcastle, but, you know, should he be in the team consistently now for the end of the season, or does Lo Celso deserve a shout for you?
Has he had a dip in form after his injury? Yes. Does he deserve to be castigated because he's not performing as we expected, or as he previously performed? He doesn't deserve to be punished or castigated for it, but we have to look for the benefit of the team. Does Gio deserve a chance? Yeah. Should he play against Newcastle? Why not? Nothing to lose. And if it doesn't work in the first half, switch up to Madders again. Because Newcastle aren't consistent. So you've got really nothing to lose. The way we play, the style we play is attacking, is possession-based attacking football. The tactics are not going to change either. So you've got nothing to lose. The players, they can both shoot from outside the box. They can both pass. They can both create. They can both get stuck in when they need to. Perhaps GLC is more of a, get stuck in when you need to, right? Because of his Argentine character, okay? He needs to prove it more because he's not playing as consistently. So, he's going to put his leg in when he has to, or his foot in. But I don't see why he can't play instead of Madders. So Madders sit on the bench for a bit. Think it over.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Black, talk to me about James Maddison. Of course, he set a really high standard, didn't he, at the start of the year? Came in, instant impact, pretty much every game. Team was performing well, but he was really the standout. Should he be dropped for you? Don't necessarily say for Newcastle, but from now to the end of the season, Lo Celso, does he deserve minutes? Deserve starts for you?
Listen, it's difficult because we have such a tough run-in that it would be quite a bold decision to drop James Maddison, knowing how good he can be. If you had some slightly easier games coming up, then maybe it'd be worth giving Lo Celso some minutes, see how he plays, see if he can pick up some form. Because James Maddison has dropped off a little bit, but now when you're coming up against Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, you play who you inherently think is the better player. And yes, he's had a drop off of form, but inherently, I would say James Maddison is better than Lo Celso, so that is who you'd pick.
Absolutely. Justin, where do you stand with James Maddison and his current form?
Yeah, kind of somewhere in between. I kind of agree a little bit more with Mr. Black. I do think, it's a bit late in the day now to try and make that sort of change. Obviously, we know how important Maddison is when he's on his form. The only thing I would say is I think we now need to almost have a situation where it's put to Maddison that if you're not going to get, if you're going to have a quiet game, a little bit like with Basuma, you're going to have a quiet game, I'm going to haul you off. I'm not going to turn around. We need to, I've seen this so many times with Tottenham where we have players who it's like, well, he's normally our best player. He's just having one of those games. Well, then don't play him, or if he doesn't do it, as we saw with Basuma, you haul him off. We need to get better at that, and I think in that game we did, as we saw Højbjerg came on, Bentancur came on, but I do feel that maybe with the likes of the Celso, if Maddison is having a quiet game, okay, fine, maybe don't bring him on at half time, but say, okay, I'll give you 15, 20 minutes. If you don't move the game, change the game, interact with the game better, I'm sorry, I'm going to take you off. This doesn't work. Let's be clear, Phil Foden at Manchester City can score a hat-trick. And then I think in the most recent game, didn't even get on against Palace, didn't even get off the bench, right? And he would be a starter for us. And that is what we need to be at. We need to be at a point where people don't get into this team because of their name. But I think at this point in the season, it'll be very difficult. But I do feel that, if it is a case of, let's say, against Newcastle, he has a quiet game and after 60 minutes, okay, get him off, get Lo Celso on, and say to Lo Celso, if you want to be starting the next game, here's your chance.
Okay, fair enough. Now I want to move on to Newcastle. We'll get you people's questions they put forward for the podcast this morning on X, so please do stay tuned. Justin, I'll start with you with Newcastle. How are you feeling ahead of the game? And talk me through what your lineup would look like.
Well, if I'm being brutally honest, I'm not looking forward to it at all. I know they've got a lot of injuries, but I do feel, if I'm being brutally honest, and some people disagree with this, but I do think their front three is better than ours, in terms of, at the moment, in terms of form. When you look at the likes of Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, and Alexander Isak, I think that's in better form than Werner, Johnson, and Son at the moment. And, I still have nightmares about last season, when, I missed the first 20 minutes and my son told me it was 4-0, and I was like, you're winding me up. It's not 4. Went on there and I said, no, it's not 4, it's 5. And I thought, am I, what? So Newcastle is one of those grounds that I just always hate going to because we seem to struggle there. Personally, though, I think, we have to be showing players that if you come on and you do well, you deserve to start. So to me, I think he has to go with the team that started the second half. I think it has to be Højbjerg, it has to be Bentancur, it has to be Maddison for me, and he has to turn around and say to the likes of Basuma and Sarr, look, I can't have passengers. He made it clear in his press conferences where he wants to go. Maddison came out and said he wants to take this club there. Right, so you have to accept, you don't pick up your performance, you don't play. That second half performance, I thought, was devastating. And we need to take that forward because Newcastle are going to be on it. You know, they are still in the mix for the European spots. Maybe not the top 4, but they are still in the mix to get Europe. And that will mean something to them because if they get conference, I guarantee, like Villa are, they'll take it seriously because they'll want to win it. They'll see what West Ham's done. They won't do what we did, which is completely disrespect the competition. They'll see it as I can put silverware in the cabinet and look where I can take myself, right? And that is the reason. And for himself, that's why I came to Tottenham. I want to win trophies. I'm not bothered about top 4. I want to win trophies. So to me, we've got to go out there like we did in that second half, really take the game to them. If we do that, I think we can get something out of it. But I've seen us go to St James's Park far too many times and get our backsides handed to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year I think we crumbled under the pressure. Anfield, 20 minutes? Yeah, St James's Park, 20 minutes. And we came back against Liverpool, but still, that first 20 minutes, that's inexcusable. Like, the whole team lost their heads, and they're both. Liverpool weren't even good last season, but Newcastle, okay, they were good. It was a hostile place to go, St James's Park, but you can't crumble like that. I can't even understand it to this day. Just the goals you conceded, the manner, the timing, and
it's absolutely bonkers. Absolutely guts. Probably one of the worst performances worst 20 minutes I've ever seen Tottenham play.
Yeah. For me, the closest that gets to that is probably when we lost 3-0 away to Brian Pochettino. I remember Lloris broke his arm, I think, and a lot went wrong in that game. Kane came off injured, and that was awful. But Newcastle absolutely topped that, I do think. But Mr. Black, Newcastle, St James's Park, Saturday lunchtime kickoff. Always the ones that I think that could cause problems. And so, how are you feeling? And what would your lineup look like? Any changes?
It's same as Justin. I'd go for what we went out with the second half in the Nottingham Forest game. That exact lineup. Like I said, I think reward the players for playing very well in that second half. I would drop Basuma regardless of how the second half had been, just because Basuma's been pretty poor recently. I wouldn't say I'm confident, but I wouldn't say I'm worried. I think, the 6-1 last season was an anomaly. I would say. I think they were playing some serious football. They were fourth. We were absolutely shocking, especially defensively. Our team's a lot better. We play a much better brand of football. We're fourth in the league with, I think, 13 points of them. I was just having a look at some of their injuries. I mean, Pope, Joel Linton, Miley, Trippier, Botman, Livramento, Wilson, Lascelles. I mean, they have got a big old injury list as well. And I think that 6-1 from last season will be motivating for the players as well. I don't necessarily think we're gonna win or destroy them or anything of the sorts, but I don't think we'll lose. I think it will be a draw or a win for us. To be honest, I think we've been better than them this season with their injuries. I think we should.
Okay. There's the ambitious.
It is ambitious, but
you a couple of times here. I think Mr. Blackie, potential couple of clippings. But let's hope not. Let's hope we win and we get top 4 as well. And Man United don't catch us, so we have to come back to this. I know with Tottenham, you just don't know. Last season I was like, Conte full season. Come on, this is a year. We can fight for the title. Last year we got top 4. It's hardly here. We got a whole summer transfer window. I was like to friends, come on, let's do it better than it. I'll wear an Arsenal shirt. Well, that pretty much backfired very, very quick. It was really good going up until the World Cup. I thought, I played this right, but it felt like a different team after that. And I got to Christmas and I was thinking, like, well, I hope he's forgot. Well, sadly, it doesn't work like that. It could stop mentioning it, but never mind. That's done now. Chris, Newcastle.
Yep.
So James's Park obviously brings back mainly bad memories for Tottenham. Even though I think it was the season under Pochettino, last game of the season, you expect to win and also lose, but not only lose, but lose quite badly. So how are you feeling? And what would your lineup look like? Any changes? Drop Basuma? Talk to me about your team.
Yeah, I think that we can get at them because I don't see them low blocking us. So we're going to have a pretty bog standard and ball game. But we at the same token that we can get at them, they can get at us. I think that by and large, and I don't really follow Newcastle, but I think that Eddie Howe plays a 4-3-3 most days. So if we don't cover our arses, excuse my French, we're going to get exposed again. Okay, so that's where they can do us badly, right? Especially with the high line, but it's necessary, as I said before. So we've got to be very wary. Isaac is a very, very dangerous player. He's good in the air. He's very good technically, and he can turn anyone inside out, even Romero or Mickey. So we've got a bit, and I've seen him here in Spain many, many years, and he's doing a very good job at Newcastle. Guimaraes is a very good player in midfield, and I'm saying this if I'm not sure whether they're on the injury list or not, but if they were to play, these are players that we have to take into consideration big time. So what I said before in the midfield, if we get done over by Guimaraes, for example, we're not going to win. So we have to be very, very wary in midfield. And if Biss were not to play, you're going to have to play Bentancur. Yes or yes. I mean, there's no other way around it. So that would be the change, if any, that I would make for the starting. And obviously, Madders would start on a normal day, 3 out of 4 Sundays. He would play, right? I just answered your question before regarding Newcastle, Madders or whatever. But he would start for me on Saturday, over GLC, of course. But yeah, Bentancur over Biss for Newcastle, yeah, and a 2-3 prediction for me in our favour, of course.
Wow, you beat me to it, and it's a positive prediction as well. So, Joe, absolutely take that. Kicked it off perfectly. 3-2 Spurs from Chris. Wow, absolutely take that. Justin, can you keep up positivity?
I think I'm going to have to take it. I think I'm going to go 2-2. I think, to be fair, okay. I can imagine us going behind, and then I can imagine a second half comeback, but then Newcastle doing what they always do to us, which is get a goal in the last minute, in added time or something like that. Harvey Barnes curls one into the top right. Please do not bookmark this if that's what happens, because I will not come back on this show, apart from the fact that I'll just be there crying for the whole show, because that would have haunted me. But I can just imagine it. So I'll go with 2-2.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I'll be honest with you. I know people say we have to win the games got coming up, and I absolutely understand and respect that. But I don't think your point, considering the result last season, I think again that will show progress. And if people say you can't see progress, I am a bit worried. We've already equaled our points tally from last season, 7 games to go. For me, we've seen clear signs of progress. I mean, Chris, we're having this Friday, right? I felt like talking to walls, saying that we've seen progress. And the difficult thing is that I find it very hard to see how we haven't made progress. Yeah, it was sad that we were, I don't know, like talking absolute rubbish. So I struggle to see fans that can't see progress. Obviously, the podcast accepts people with all different opinions. I'm interested to, if people, aren't fully behind Ange or don't, fully understand the hype, etc. But I just struggle to see where they come from, to be honest with you. Mr. Black, what's your prediction for the game?
I reckon 3-2 Spurs. Actually, all right, yeah. Wow. I think again, I'm gonna be like ambitious about it. Like I said, I think Newcastle have got some good attacking players. We do seem to concede in every single game that we play, but they've got some proper defensive injuries. We've got, we've scored in almost every single one of our last 40 games, bar the Fulham game, wasn't it?
Don't say that. Don't say another thing like that.
I'm actually going to get.
You know where this is going.
when we lose 3-0.
We've got Man United catching us. It's all going wrong.
Yeah.
No, no, like I said, I think 3-2. I think, like at the end of the day, we are 13 points above them. They've got a lot of injuries. I think my reasoning makes sense. I'm not overly confident. If I had to guess, that is what I'm going to go for.
Okay, fair enough. And before we do get to the questions, last thing is I'm going to go around the houses and ask how many points will we get from our next 3 Premier League fixtures. So Chris, I'll come to you first. Our next 3 games of follow: Newcastle away, Liverpool. No, forget that. Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, then Liverpool away. That's Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away. We hold up 3 points or 1?
No, 3 was the first one because I said 2-3.
Right.
Hang on a minute. Right, let me think about this. Let me think about it because I'm a tactical man. I'm not an emotional man. Right, 3 at Newcastle. 3 at Newcastle. Obviously, I think we get spanked at Arsenal. No, I don't. I think we'll get a point at Arsenal. And I think we beat Liverpool, so 7.
Right, can you just pass over some of the positivity this way? I'd love that. Right, I'm going to be brutally honest here. Let's dissect these games. Newcastle away, I think we're going to be on the wrong side of a 5-0 thriller. 3-2 Newcastle, I think we get nothing from that. Arsenal, I can't see us losing it, to be honest with you. I think it's one of those games where we'll be really, really keen to stop Arsenal win the title. I think we could win that. That's going to be 2-1 Spurs, to be very bold, but I don't think we're getting anything at Liverpool. I think we do one more battering, or I don't like that word, but one more lesson, I suppose, if you like, for the end of the season. I think it'll be Liverpool away. So I think we're getting 3 points, to be honest with you. And that's me being positive. It started with 1 the other day when I wrote out the questions. So there we go, I guess. Justin, you as positive as Chris? 2 points. Where are we getting them?
Newcastle and Arsenal. The simple reason being is Liverpool have not forgotten what happened at ours. Honestly, I dread they are going to make that the most hostile, horrible environment for us to walk into. Klopp will just have them set up, and not only that, if we have, as I predicted, taken a point off Arsenal, they'll be in that position. It's like we can cement winning the title here. So, I think a draw at Newcastle, a draw at Arsenal, and then I think we're going to get annihilated by Liverpool.
Can I say something off that?
Go on.
If I may. Thank you. If Klopp is going to make that game like a vengeance, right, or revenge, he won't win the league. And he'll show that sometimes he hasn't got a foggiest about managing. Because if his season is going to come down to a revenge 90 minutes against Spurs for what happened in London, then what is the point in being a manager when his whole season depends on being smart and not a vengeful person? Do you know what I mean? He's got to be tactical about it, not an idiot about it.
I think it's what he said. I think it's what he'll say behind the scenes, and I wouldn't be surprised if the club, when let's be honest, when Arsenal were going for the title, and the club set it up that we want to make it as loud as possible, we want to make it ferocious and things like that. I think it'll be more the club that will set it as that rather than Klopp himself. I think he will more, he'll take it because if you look at what he said in his comments after the Liverpool game, where he basically goaded Man United to say, if United play like that against Arsenal, Arsenal will win. The whole point of that is to put it into Man United's mindset. Well, hang on a minute, we're not going to do that. Yeah, exactly. So I think the club will do that to set it from there, but I think he will set it more tactically as, we've got a position here. They've hopefully drawn against us. We can then take advantage of it to cement what we want to do for the title.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Mr. Black, how many points are you getting from those 3 games?
I'm going to go with 4. I reckon.
Okay.
Beat Newcastle, get a draw against Arsenal, and I hate playing Liverpool regardless. I mean, seriously, it's the most cursed fixture I've ever watched in my life. Every single time we play them, it's like 8 big chances missed, or we gift them a goal. And then the one time we do beat them, it took 2 red cards and an own goal from Matip. I mean, seriously, you need a magic spell to beat them lot whenever we play them. So no, I don't think we have a single chance at Anfield of getting a point. But
nor do I.
Win against Newcastle, draw against Arsenal, I reckon we're going to make that as hostile as possible against Arsenal, especially if they're still in the title race in a few weeks' time. I reckon 4.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think it'll be too bad. Quick FP update in the league for the podcast. Luca Fanya's up to 1st. Mickey Race up to 2nd. Mark Sweeney up to 3rd. Sean Holder falling to 4th. Tommy C in 5th. Tom Carr falling to 6th. Lewis Godfrey retaining 7th. Kai got in 8th. Rob Perry 9th. And Richard Nurse in 10. That is the top 10. And there is now 119 people in the league. You don't want to know where I am. I think you know where that's going. too far down. I'd be all night trying to find myself down there, so we won't worry about that. We'll move on to the questions that people put forward for the podcast. So thank you very much for your patience. Mr. Black, I'm going to give you the first one from Jay. So pick up Jay, who says, what Spurs players will get sold in the summer? He says, Gil, Højbjerg, Lo Celso, just putting some names out there. So, let me go twist the question slightly. What players do you want to see Tottenham sell?
Brian Hill, absolutely. I just don't think he's built for the Premier League. Perhaps harsh, but I actually don't think I've ever seen him put in a particularly good performance for us ever. And he was 25 million and Lamella as an outrageous price for a player who, in my opinion, really doesn't offer anything from what I've seen from him. I'd say if the right offer comes in for Højbjerg, and I'd say controversially Richarlison as well, if we can get 50 million from Richarlison, there's been links to the Saudi league. I don't see why we'd say no. I think you could get a better player, a better striker than Richarlison for 50 mil, or add a little bit of cash or make it a 70 mil striker. And it devastates me to say it, but if we could get a bit of cash for Emerson Royale, I love Emerson Royale. His vibes are immaculate, great player. But no, if you can get a bit of cash for him and that'll help us sign someone that is, perhaps better, then could see us let him go for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. Justin, I'll give the next question to you from Chris, who says, do you think Ange will be backed in the summer for who he wants? Of course, he doesn't want Champions League, a wanting player. Where do you stand with this?
Well, to be honest, I think he will be, because I think the interesting part with his comments is that the type of players he's referring to are the £100 million players. Now, Tottenham never do well when 9 times out of 10 don't do well when they spend big money on a player, because normally the player doesn't have the right attitude to fit in with that. So I think he will be backed, because I think he will look at the market, and we're not looking at like the top players, the Vinicius Juniors, the Mbappes, the Haalands, people like that. We're going to be looking almost, I think we should be looking at the next level down, the likes of, Vlahovic, Chiesa, and I agreed with was it Koopmans you said, from Atalanta. Yeah, I thought that was a good shout. Goodmanson from is it Genoa? I think he's up there. So
Correct.
I think those type of players, where they are the next one down. Tottenham are not going to go out there and sign that superstar player. Those days have gone. We've seen them with the likes of Klinsmann, Van der Vaart and things like that, but the money has taken it far too far for us to even consider that. But generally, the players that have worked for us are the ones where, the likes of Van der Ven, where we've spent big money, but they really fit into what we need to be doing. But the culture needs to be changing. We keep talking about it. Well, we then have to show that. And these players that I've mentioned aren't going to cost you 80, 90, 100 million pounds. You're looking at, 40, 50, 60. I mean, Goodmanson from Genoa, I think there was talk of like 25, 30 million pounds. He ain't got, Iceland didn't make it into the Euros. So you've got a whole summer with him. That should be absolutely signed, sealed and delivered. Send him Jed Spence, get him in, we should be being very, very clever. That's the one thing we were in the summer. We were very clever with the players that we brought in. There's been a lot of hits and misses. That needs to continue, but we need to take it to the next level, because if Ange is serious about wanting to win titles, he's not talking about Champions League football. He's talking about wanting to win titles, trophies, things like that. The level of quality that needs to be in this squad needs to be taken to that next level. We're sort of we're dining at buying players of around 4th, 5th, 6th. That needs to change. It needs to be 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Players that the likes of Liverpool would be going for, that Arsenal would be going for. And I know that they're the ones going for the title, but Arsenal are not going to go and get Kylian Mbappe, right? They're not going to get him. Liverpool aren't going to get him. But why is it that they're in the mix for players? Why are we not in those mix for those type of players? So if that's the ones that Ange wants, then I don't think there's any excuses for that. Simple as that.
No, I think that's reasonable. Thank you very much, Justin. Chris, I'll put the next question to you from Courtney, who says predictions of where we're going to finish at the end of the season. 4th. Okay. What do you reckon the points will be, or the gap between us and Villa? Do you reckon?
I'm technical, but not that technical. I do not know. I don't know. I didn't see that question on the screen actually, Harry. So I'm not going to make that one count. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the difference will be. So I think
Fair
fourth. Villa have got to. They're still in Europe. They've got to contend with that. They've got to contend with a fluctuating form. They're very inconsistent. They've got their own problems to deal with. And it's very annoying, isn't it? From Unai Emery, he's got things on his plate. He's got too much to deal with. So it's his problem, not ours. I think we've got our own things to deal with, but they are more obvious than what he's got to deal with, because he's got his work cut out for him. He's got two things to deal with, not one. We've only got the league to deal with. So we'll end up fourth.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Mr. Black, Jay says, so if you sold those players, who you buy for you? You know, a couple of players you can think of.
I would first, number 6 needs to be addressed. I'd go all in for Paulinho from Fulham or Onana from Everton, one of the two.
Agree.
I think Paulinho is ideal. I mean, we were linked to getting rid of Højbjerg in January to Fulham. So yeah, if you could do some sort of swap deal with that would be fantastic. Striker, I think we need a number 9. If we get rid of Richarlison, personally, I'd go big money and going for Isak. He's Premier League proven. He's a fantastic striker. I mean, how many has he scored this season? 15, 16? Not too many of them are penalties. He's a seriously top quality striker. I honestly haven't put too much thought into our transfer window other than that, to be honest. Like I would obviously say get perhaps a bit more depth for the wing, and if we're going to get rid of Emerson Royale, obviously bring in a fullback of some sort. But no, I think for me, key signings would be a defensive midfielder and a striker. I'd go for Isak and Paulinho.
Fair enough. Thank you. I completely agree.
Can I give two names? Can I give two
go
names?
for it. Yeah.
Gyökeres, Sporting Lisbon forward, who used to play for Coventry, as our number 9. Extremely versatile, young, and from Sporting Lisbon as well, Hjulman, number 6.
Okay. Good shout there.
Right.
Justin, question here from Semper, who says, is Son a new scapegoat? If so, why?
Because he's captain. I think the problem being is when you take a captain, you're a leader. You're meant to lead by example. Also, as well, he's a number 9. He's playing in that position. I think probably better than Richarlison would. So the fact of it being is that he has all of that on his plate. We've also seen how good he can be. So I think when you are the captain, you're the leader, and you are the number 9, not only you've got to set an example, you've got to score the goals. So I think it just comes with the territory. You know, we also got to take into account he's an aging player. So at some point, we're going to have to, a bit like with Harry Kane, take the plaster off and move on. Maybe another couple of years, we can still keep him there as competition. But I think that's why I was a little bit surprised Son was given the captaincy, because he's not going to be the long-term fit for the football club. I think he's good for another 2-3 years. Beyond that, not so sure.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Chris. Question from Thomas, who says, Timo Werner, sign or decline? Nice and short answer.
Yeah, sign.
German accent as well. Absolutely perfect. Mr. Black, question from Basse. So big up Basse, who's listening from Sweden. It says, is Gallagher good enough to play in a top 4 team and Champions League, or should we look for another play? Comments there or homegrown. Would you take Gallagher at Tottenham?
I'd take him at Tottenham, but not as a regular starter. I think he's inconsistent on his day, yes, but I think the reason I think he's actually hyped a lot more than he should be is because he's being compared to Enzo and Caicedo, who cost £100 million, when in reality, neither of them are £100 million players. It's just because, you know, when you put yourself against 2 players that were that expensive in comparison, you're going to seem a lot better than you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. Chris, coming back to you, Sandra says, which player's performance stood out to you the most in the game and why? And Ben also says the same. So I'm going to link the 2 questions there. Yeah, who stood out to you as your player of the match?
Mickey, and Timo. Timo, if you look at Timo and what he does on and off the ball and his technical ability and what he's asked to do, is flawless. Is he perfect? No, but no one is. And he's technically the best player we've got in that squad. Is he scoring goals? No, but he's not meant to score goals because his task is different, which is why people get frustrated and ask too much of him. Can left wingers, right wingers score goals? Yes. Should they? Yes. But his task is not to score goals. He is a provider of goals. So in this tactical setup, that is what he's meant to do. Is he doing it? Yes. So perfect. For me, those two were brilliant. And Willie Vick. My son's a goalkeeper. I have to back goalkeepers. So Willie Vick is brilliant.
Fair enough. Last couple of questions. Mr. Black, put it to you. C. Smith says for this question's for Mr. Black. Who is better, Porro or Emerson?
Well, we know the answer. For the vibes, for everything other than footballing ability, Emerson Royale is one of the greatest to do it. In terms of footballing ability, there's a legendary song that goes, "He can't defend, he can't attack. Emerson Royale is our wing back."
For vibes, yeah, I totally get Emerson. Yeah, you want him around your dressing room, absolutely. And Justin Barney says, "How do you feel about the run in, and how confident are you now of Spurs finishing fourth? Do you think also fifth will be enough for Champions League?" I absolutely think so.
I think this week will be I think the next 2 weeks are very telling because obviously we've got the games coming up. You know, West Ham have got Leverkusen. Arsenal have got Bayern Munich, which makes me feel sick that I might have to think about things and Harry Kane battering them, but that's neither here nor there. I think fourth is on a knife edge. You know, I agree. Obviously, Aston Villa have got a lot of tough games coming up. Obviously, they've got to balance it with European football, but this is Tottenham. You know, we've thrown away top four so many times, it just becomes the norm, to be fair with us. So I think we should, but then this is Tottenham. So I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if we finish fifth.
No, nor would I. As you say, it's Tottenham. I'm going to answer the last two questions. First one's from Harry, who says, do I think that Spurs will be in title race next season? Obviously, it's hard to comment now. I think with Liverpool potentially losing Klopp, I don't think Guardiola will be this year, maybe the summer after. I think, obviously, if Arsenal win it, there won't be quite as much pressure, if you like, to win it almost next season. I think if we get our summer business right, we bring in, for me, a number 9, a backup fullbacks, as Mr. Black mentioned earlier. Ideally, number 6, but if not, I wouldn't have a problem with Ben still playing it. Yeah, there's a few positions in and around that we do need. Maybe another winger for a bit of strength. I think we can all kind of agree with most of them. Then I think that we have a chance. I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to win the title, but I think we can be in the race, 3 or 4 teams in and around that title. And also the last one from Bateman Talks Tottenham, big up, who says, should Bentancur and Højbjerg start the next match? I love Højbjerg, but in a pressured environment at St James's Park, would probably be the last thing I would do, to be honest with you. I know he done really well, and I like Højbjerg personally coming on. I think we go, like West Ham, we're in their kind of position, where you end up 3-1 up, which you can do. Mr. Black read out the injuries earlier. Majority of those injuries for Newcastle are in defensive positions, including the goalkeeper. That almost about 4 or 5 are pretty much all out, apart from like your share, I think, is the exception to that. So I'd want Højbjerg coming on to protect the lead, but Bentancur would absolutely start. I think that wraps it up nicely for today's show. So big up everyone listening live on YouTube. Thank you all for your comments. It was absolutely excellent. And most importantly as well, thank you very much to my fantastic guests. Obviously, Benjamin and Billy earlier leaving. Mr. Black, thank you. It's been a pleasure again. Where can people find you?
On TikTok at MrBlack.football or by Twitter, just at Mr. Black Football.
Love it. Go check out Mr. Black. Some excellent content there. Emerson Royale content as well. Absolutely. It's what you love to see. So big up. Thank you very much for giving me your time this evening.
Thanks for having me on.
No, anytime. Justin, regular on the show until, some things you said come true. Where can people find you?
Well, to be honest, as you say, regular here, sometimes on Spurs Kings TV when he's not, bigging himself up on the last word on Spurs, and ditching our slot, which I love giving him grief for. So, either, here or there or on Twitter, as I say, I'm always somebody who'll have an opinion and I'm always happy to debate it with somebody. So thank you for having us on. Cracking show as always.
No, thank you again for giving me your time. And Chris, last minute little substitute, if you like, from the tactician. Where can people find you?
I hope people don't personally find me anywhere, but Meta Football TV. Yeah, that's where people can find me. So hopefully, come along, join the fun. Everyone's invited, and be lovely to see everybody. And thank you for having me on.
No, absolute pleasure.
Justin, and of course, the main man, Harry himself.
Thank you very much. Go check out all these guys on all socials. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Free to do so. Ideally, get to 2K by the end of the season. That will be massively appreciated. Smash the like button. It's free to do so. Get involved in the comments. And as well, if you're listening on a podcast platform, don't forget to give us a follow and 5-star review. Pause the episode as well. Head over to YouTube, search Scarfy Spurs Talk and subscribe. But for now, come on, you Spurs.
Working as a manager at Celtic Park when we met you. We picked you out, you shook us up and turned us around. You've turned us into something new. And Postecoglou, you know that we believe it when you say you're gonna change it. And Postecoglou, we're the mighty Tottenham and nobody's gonna stop them. Oh, we look so fine in blue and lily white. And then he said to me, I'm from a land down under. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou.